Hello, I'm Josiah, and my partner is Nicholas, and this is our Holy Orders and Matrimony project. So for this project, we interviewed Father Jacob about his thoughts on Holy Orders and Nicholas's grandparents on their thoughts on matrimony. The first clip that I'll be showing you is the interview of Father Jacob's thoughts on Holy Orders.
First question. Okay, tell me your name.
Olivia,
Olivia. What's the first question?
what sparked your interest in the priesthood and how did you know this was your vocation?
Okay, Olivia asked what sparked my interest in the priesthood and how did I know it was my vocation? So, vocation is fundamentally that way of living in which you become the person you are called to be. Okay, so it's deeper than job, it's deeper even than maybe just, like being wealthy or having a big house, so it's about being all that you can be. So first thing is, for me, I'm a convert to Christianity. So I was not brought up a Christian. I didn't become a Christian because... You okay? Okay. Is this something that I should be aware of? Okay, all right. Let's see if we can stay focused. Okay, come on. I know it's almost lunchtime, but let's see if we can stay in this moment with each other. So I'm a convert to Christianity. I wasn't brought up a Christian. I became a Christian at university because I came to think the story of Jesus Christ is true and beautiful and good. Okay, so no one made me do it. In fact, I was not baptized, and I can remember going to church and thinking. So I started to go to church because I thought I've come to think that the story of Jesus is true, and if I want to know more about how I should live, then that's what the Christian community is all about. Okay, so I started going to church, and they were all standing up and sitting down and kneeling and saying things, and I had no idea what they were doing. But I wanted to live my life to honor to honor Jesus Christ, who I had come to think was the Savior of the world. Okay, and so that's the first thing. So my adult life really has been a sequence of repeated efforts to live more deeply into what I had come to think was the deepest truth I could know. Okay, so obviously at one level we all want to be like economically successful or personally respected or to have beautiful relationships, and those are really important. Okay, there's nothing wrong with those desires, but obviously there's something deeper, which is like, I want to live a life that's meaningful. I don't want to just be like, wealthy and to wake up one day in my mid-40s and think my whole life is pointless. I've got the big car and the big house and the beautiful wife and the 1.3 kids, but everything is just empty. And so I wanted to live a life that would honor Jesus Christ, and so eventually I came to think one of the questions that I needed to face was Jesus calling me to serve his church? And I wasn't confident of that, but I also didn't want to evade that. I didn't want to run from it. Okay? In my adult life, saying yes to challenges have been the real deep moments of growth. Okay, so coming to say yes to being a priest and then seeing what happened. And so that was the start of the journey. I wanted to say yes to Jesus, and for me, that meant being willing to serve as a priest in his church. So, I stepped forward, and then I waited to see what would happen when I did that. And what happened, to my great astonishment, was the people in the church said, "We think God might be calling you to be a priest too." And then I began the process of formation and discernment, which takes years and years. That's a beautiful question. Someone else over here. Next question. Yeah, that's all. I've got to ask your name. What a great question, Isabel. Isabel asked, what's the best or most rewarding part of being a priest? Well, so it goes like this. My life feels meaningful. And so I have bad days and stressful days and difficult days. I have days of challenging and days of great sorrow. I have days when I'm exhausted, but my life never feels meaningless. So there's a kind of sense of, not that I am important, because I don't think that, but my life is bound into something that's real. Okay? So I have come to think we live a great chunk of our lives just chasing things that are illusory. Fantasies. Like fantasy versions of ourselves. And dealing with that is one of the most important tasks of adult life. Because otherwise you just live some illusory, like you are like the foam on the top of the sea. And so my life feels like it's realer and deeper. That doesn't mean it's like unicorns and rainbows. It means that it is connected to the deepest reality that I trust in. Okay, and so, there are days when I have to do things that I don't like and I don't enjoy or that I'm no good at. But there are never days when I just think this is pointless. And so obviously as a priest, you take it into your prayer life, and you offer it to Christ, and then see what happens out of this. So that's the best thing about it. Was there a second part to your question? Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So my guess is, you live a lot of your life thinking this is pointless. So you just kind of think, hey, this assignment's stupid, this class is stupid, this teacher's pointless. A lot of your life is lived like that. And so what I'm saying is, I don't live like that at all. And it's not because I am some super awesome guy. It's because I have come to think what I'm doing is connected to what is most deeply real in me. And what's most deeply real in me is connected to what's most deeply real in the universe, which is to say the life of God. And so that's what is beautiful about it. And so, maybe God's calling you to be a priest, okay? But if not, maybe God's calling you to have a beautiful marriage. And if that's the case, your marriage will be the way in which you are connected to what's most deeply real in you and what's most deeply real in the universe. Okay? And so it's about making these connections that allow you to think, to trust. I'm growing. I am in a relationship that is life-giving, and I'm being drawn towards what gives me joy. Next question. Someone else. How many of you in this class have looked at the assignment? Just put your hand up. No judgment. No judgment. How many of you have looked at it? If you have, not your class, in this class. How many of you have looked at the assignment? 1, 2, 3. So one of you try and remember one of the questions. Okay? Maybe it was a week ago. You looked at it a week ago. How many of you got your iPads?
I got it. This came to me.
All right, come on. It's amazing. All right, listen up. Listen up. Tell me your name.
Cooper.
Cooper. By the way, Isabel, thank you for your question. It was beautiful. Okay, Cooper, what's your question?
All right. What was the process of preparation for the sacrament of holy orders for you? Do you think other men can start preparing today, even if they don't know that is their vocation?
Yeah. So vocation is like falling in love. In fact, it's not like it. That's what it is. Okay? So, when people fall in love, you hear very rare stories about, what's that thing called where you see someone and you know immediately this is going to be my life partner? What is that? Okay, so how many of you think that's a real thing? These classes are very cynical. They're very cynical. So, Okay? However, listen up, okay? Most love is not like that. It's a growing thing, isn't it? So you meet someone, you feel attracted to them, and then you grow together, and suddenly you think, I can't imagine my life apart from them. So vocation is kind of like that. So it's sort of like I became a Christian, and then I kind of thought, I should offer my life in the service of God and see what kind of form that would be the best kind of life, because it would be the truest kind of life, the realest kind of life. And so then it was like a gradual thing, okay? Eventually, you come to the place where you kind of think, I need to go and talk to somebody. And so you go and talk to, first of all, your local parish priest, and then he will send you to go and see your bishop. And so discernment is the process of figuring out, am I being called to this thing? Okay? And so it's often for years, okay? And so you begin discerning. And so for me, that process lasted like 5 or 6 years, in which you're meeting with people and meeting with priests, and you're praying a lot about it, and all of that. And then, at the same time, you go through a process called formation, okay? So in order to serve as a priest, the church understands you have to grow. Okay? And so it's like helping you to grow in your prayer life, in the way that you structure your life, helping you to become the kind of person who might serve as a priest within the church of God. And so for me, that entire process lasted about 6 years. And so it's long and sometimes demanding, but also it's a beautiful and joyful thing to do at the same time. So there are many, many, many steps. So they put you through like a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation to make sure you're not crazy. Okay? And so it's like 3 days long, and they ask you all kind of questions to figure out, are you a sociopath? Are you a psychopath? There are people who are psychopaths. You don't want them to be priests. There are people who are sociopaths who can't empathize with anybody. You don't want them to be priests. Okay, and so, no judgment, but also, so and you do lots of academic studies. So I had to study for several years. I did some examinations at the end of it. And at the end of all of that discernment and formation, then the Archbishop decides, is this man someone who's been called to be a priest in the Catholic Church? And in my case, he said, yeah. And so it's a long and complex process. Typically, people get sent to seminary for 8 years. So Catholic priests are among the best educated professionals that you will ever meet. So if you left Gorman and said, I think I'm being called to be a priest, and if you're Catholic and a man, you should certainly consider it, the church would require you to do 8 years of academic, personal, spiritual formation before you could even get to the point of being ordained. They would make me do 2 complete degrees, philosophical and theological. So Catholic priests are incredibly well educated. They go through psychological, psychiatric, they go through medical, they go through health stuff in order to make sure that they are the kind of person who can serve in the church. It's a very broad, comprehensive, holistic kind of process. But it's a great question. Someone else over here. Yeah.
How was your day of ordination?
It was joyful. It was very joyful. So, when I was ordained a deacon, so I didn't say to the question, tell me your name by the way. Hayden, great question. When I was ordained as a deacon, I only got permission from the Vatican to be ordained 3 weeks before the ordination date. So 2 years ago at this time, I learned the Pope had given permission for me to be ordained. Okay? And so, because I'm married, it needs the permission of Pope Francis. It needs a special permission of Pope Francis. Catholic priests normally in our part of the church can't be married. And so I heard at the start of May, and I then I got ordained like 3 weeks, and it was like a whirlwind. It was like just craziness when I was ordained a deacon. So I didn't think about it. It just happened to me. When I was a priest, I had an entire year to think about it. And so when it happened, it was like utterly overwhelming. It was just momentous and joyful and beautiful. And I could hardly believe that it had happened, because I had waited so long for it, I prepared so long for it, and I was so glad to be able to, you get to make vows, important vows, and I was just delighted to be able to make them. It's one of the, handful of most memorable and beautiful days in the whole of my life. So I was very glad. It was overwhelming and great. Thank you. Someone else over here.
What are the best parts of being a priest?
Well, tell me your name too.
Gabby.
Gabby. Thank you for your great question, Gabby. Well, I love being alongside people. So when you are a priest, you're close to people at the great moments of their life, birth, death, coming to faith or doubting their faith. You accompany people as they grow in their discipleship of Jesus Christ. And it's such a privilege to be there. So remember I said that everything seems meaningful. Like it feels like your whole life is connected to this deep reality. And so you're bound into serving this beautiful community. So yesterday I was aware of one of my colleagues whose cousin, their funeral was happening yesterday. And so that's on my heart. And another teacher, their uncle died, and I was thinking and praying for them. But I also know another colleague who is pregnant and carrying twins, and so I'm thinking of them, and they're praying for their babies, praying for them. And so you're just carrying around people's lives in your heart all of the time, and it's a beautiful and joyful thing. And it feels such a privilege to be close to people at these important times, and I'm so grateful for it. So thank you for your wonderful question. Next question over here, someone different. Yeah, tell me your name. Vivian, what's your question?
Have you ever felt a desire to pursue any other kind of vocation?
That's a great question, Vivian. Before I became a priest, so I became a Christian, so vocation is both yes and no, Vivian, okay? So vocation is like when you get married, you say yes to this one woman, and you say no to every other woman who will ever exist. Ideally. Okay? So there's a no as well that's part of vocation. Okay? And so my first degree was in London. Okay? So I did a bachelor's degree and a master's degree at a place that's called the London School of Economics. And I was expecting to be like a banker, to be a wealthy banker. Okay? And so when I became a Christian, I came to see I cannot do that. Not everybody, just me, I cannot do that and live a life that would honor my beloved Savior. And I wanted to. Okay, that was the meaning of my life. And so it's I said no to being a banker. Okay, so that meant no to this life of prosperity and wealth, and I accepted that. So okay, that's where I am being called. I've said no to this. But I didn't know what to say yes to. And so I tried 2 or 3 things. The first thing is I went to work in a hospice, and I cared for people who were terminally ill with cancer. And so I thought about being a nurse. And then I went to work for a place that served unemployed people. And I thought about that. And then I looked at a community where they lived right in the center of very, very deep deprivation. And I wondered, should I live a life of simple discipleship in the midst of this deprivation? And none of those were bad, but none of them were either things. And eventually, I came to think I should serve the church as a priest. Or at least I should. What I actually felt was it would be cowardly for me not to offer my life to do that. And I expected the church would say, thanks but no thanks. But they didn't say that. But I was really surprised when they said yes. So I did explore. I said no to something, and I looked briefly at other things too, and I was surprised when the church said yes. I did look a bit. Like figuring out like who to marry, you know, and what is the significance and meaning of your life. They're big things, okay? But you can't tread water forever, okay? So deciding I'm not going to do anything is actually a decision to do something, okay? So there is no neutral place where you just sit in idle and leave the gears in neutral. In the end, you have to, it's the real question is like, who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? And so for me, I wanted to become someone whose life honored Jesus Christ. And so that was the question that I kept on asking myself, is like, you know, like, how can I best do that with my life? And it became less important for me to think, how can I be rich? Or how can I be respected? Or they was not unimportant. It became less important. And I have repeatedly, throughout my adult life, come back to that question again. How can I honour Jesus Christ? And it was through that I became a Catholic. You know, so I came to ask myself, you know, I believe in Jesus, and I believe he founded like a community. It's not an idea. It's not a set of values. It's not an aspiration. It's a set of relationships. 12 men at first, and then others. And I asked myself, where is that church? And I came to think, that's the Catholic Church. Like it can't be the mega church down the road. That can't be the church that Jesus founded, though I'm sure it's wonderful, because it's only existed since like 2020. The church that Jesus founded will be around in 1900 and 500 and 100, being around in 33 AD. And so there are very, very few choices when you begin to think like that. Basically, the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. Okay, and so, you know, I grew up in the west of Europe, and I came to think, you know, maybe if I was Russian, I'd be Orthodox. Okay, maybe. That would be a beautiful way. But I'm from Western Europe, and so the Catholic Church is that part of the church that Christ founded that was around in my context. And so I became Catholic. So that could be a beautiful question. Someone else over here. Someone different. You haven't asked a question, have you?
No.
All right, we're going along this line. You people at the back, I'm coming to you next, okay? Think of something. Yeah, go. Tell me your name.
Christian.
Christian. Ask away, Christian.
What things are hard? How do you get through conflict and hard times? How do you see the grace of the sacrament assisting you?
Well, so the first lesson to learn is you can't avoid conflict. Okay? Go on, yeah, you could. You can't avoid conflict. Conflict is part of life, and sometimes it's creative. So conflict is some of the ways that people grow. But you have to learn to handle it in a way that is healthy. So firstly, I had to learn. So I came from a family where my parents just argued all of the time. Just like your full-on plate throwing, door slamming kind of arguments. I had to learn as an adult that's a very, very unhelpful way to have conflict. Okay? And it took me a while. So you have to learn, depersonalize the conflict, not to avoid it. Okay? Because that's cowardly, and sometimes conflict is just absolutely necessary. Instead, you depersonalize it, so you learn to think, like, hey, I still respect this person, like I'm not, but, nevertheless there is going to be this conflict, and so as a Christian you think this person is a beloved child of God, but we're having a disagreement, and we're going to have a disagreement. And so if you've ever been in a leadership position, you can't avoid conflict. Okay? And so it's just built into the role. So you depersonalize it, and the second thing you do is you take it into your prayer life. And so when I've had deep conflict, and again that's part of life, then I pray for the person. I don't mean I pray, Lord, help them to change their mind. I pray, give them joy. Help them to flourish more than I flourish, as long as I obey your will. Help them to become holier than I am, as long as I am holy as I need to be. Help them to happiness that's greater than my happiness, as long as I am happy enough. Okay? Give me a second. I have English bird song as my ringtone. I find that really helpful thing to do. Okay, so I'm praying good things and joy and peace and love for them. I try and see what is deep and true and good about it, and empathy is really important. But in the end, you take it into the heart of your spiritual life, and you offer it up to Christ. Okay, and so you pray and trust that Christ's love is at work in this difficult situation, and will help bring out of it life and goodness and joy for everybody. Okay, but you it's important not simply to be a people pleaser all of the time. Because there are some issues where you're sort of this issue is so important that I take my stand in this place. Okay? So even if I understand it will lead to conflict. Okay? And so that's what we call courage. Okay? So courage is doing what is right even though it's difficult. So sometimes you ask for, help me to do what is right even if this is a difficult situation. So I hope that helps a bit. Someone else over here. Who else was next? Someone at the back. Let's get someone else at the back. Come on. Someone else. I'll come to you next time around. No, she knows all the questions. It's got to be one of you. Okay? You've got to do a little bit of work. Or could be the front row peeps down here. Go on.
How do you continue your spiritual growth?
You pray. How do you tell me your name? Nate. Thank you, Nate, for your awesome question. There is no spiritual growth as a Christian without growth in prayer. Okay? And so Christianity is not about being a nice and good and, it's not that. Christianity is about love. Okay? So I haven't always thought that. And it's not about just thinking things in your head. It's about living them in your life. And so to grow spiritually, you are learning to love more deeply. So first of all, how do you love yourself more deeply? Okay. And so that's not just self-soothing, that there's nothing wrong with that. It's coming to think, I desire what is genuinely meaningful and life-giving for my own life, whatever that might be. Okay? And so when you begin to do that, what you discover is, I have lots of illusory self-images for, if only everyone would see how great I was, then the world would be so much. So you have to deal with your own delusions and delusions, first of all by just noticing them, okay? And then you bring those to Christ. So you keep on coming back to Christ's love. And that's what prayer is. You just be attentive to Jesus' love. And so you bring your heartache, your sorrow, your joy, you bring your successes, you bring your failures. And you have to learn to be really gentle with yourself. Okay? So you might, you will, okay? You will make major mistakes in your adult life, okay? And like heartbreakingly catastrophic errors. And you have seen adults in your own life do it, probably. And so, how do you get past that? Well, you notice it, you're realistic about it, and then you just come back to Christ's love. Okay? So someone asked me in the last class, have I become more judgmental as a Catholic priest? And the exact opposite is true. I've come to think much more deeply, we are all underway. Okay? We're all made in the image of God. That doesn't mean a complacent, like, hey, I'm finished. Instead, it's the coming to see I'm being invited to grow. And so, like, to be in a spiritual life is to think I'm being invited to grow. Even when I feel stuck, I'm being invited to grow, to become more real, more alive, more joyful, more loving, more merciful, more gracious, more tender, more faithful, more patient. Okay? And so it's not beating yourself up. Instead, it's an invitation to life. And so it's like, and the way you do that is keep on coming back to the one who is life, Jesus Christ. And that's what prayer is. So just, not just like, Lord, help me get an A. That's not a bad prayer either. Instead, it's like, help me notice how much you love me so I can love myself in the same way. Help me notice how much you love Nate so I can love him as you do. Okay? Help me to see that in my friends and in my enemies, in the poor and the forgotten, in the undocumented. Help me to see that in people who are so different from me that I find them hard to relate to, but I know that you love them, and so help me to love them too. That's what spiritual growth is. Okay? And so, weirdly, becoming a Catholic has really helped me to do that. But awesome question. Appreciate it. Yes, ask away. Tell me your name. Natasha.
Did you ever have a desire for another vocation?
Natasha asked, did I ever have a desire for another vocation? So you might know, so Natasha, I'm going to ask you a slightly odd question. So are you Russian? No. Okay, but you have a Russian name. It's a beautiful Russian name. Thank you. It is. So Natasha asked, have I ever thought I had another vocation? When I resigned, I was a Protestant priest for like 25 years and I loved it, but I became a Catholic because I thought I came to think like, this is the community that Jesus founded. Okay? And so when I resigned as a Protestant priest, I was unemployed and I was out of work for like a year and a half and I had no income, and I thought we're going to lose our house because we can't pay the mortgage, and we had to sell and leave. And I thought we're going to be homeless and we're going to have to live in our car, and we almost did. And so it was a real journey of but I didn't know where it was going to end up. Okay? And it ended up with me eventually becoming a Catholic priest. Okay, but before I knew that, when I was just thinking about it, I thought, maybe I'll become a nurse. If the church says no to me, which I thought they probably would, then I thought I'll retrain as a nurse, and because I will enjoy like caring for people and helping them in a hospital. So I considered that. I thought about it, and I knew that I would like it. But then my life went a different way. Thank you for your great question, Natasha. Someone back here.
We finished all the questions on the list, guys, so this is where you can ask any other questions.
And you can ask me anything you want now. Go on.
I have a very quick one. So when you're ordained,
Yeah.
is like confirmation was of multiple people, or is it just you?
It varies. Tell me your name.
My name's Blake.
Blake, great question. Blake asked, are multiple people ordained at once? It varies from year to year. So in my year, there was just me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just me. So it happens, it depends on how many people have finished the process of preparation and discernment. There's an ordination on May the 25th, and this year it's 2. Okay? In the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, there are 11 deacons being ordained this year. So it varies from year to year. Great question. Anyone else got any questions you want to ask? Yeah, ask away. Oh, tell me your name first. By the way, Blake, great question. Go on. Jaden, ask away.
How long have you been ordained?
I have been ordained for 1 year. I was ordained on June the 3rd last year, and so I will have come June the 3rd. It will be my 1 year anniversary, and so it's vacation time. I'm in theory on vacation. You're all traveling around the world, wherever Korea, wherever else you're going, all these awesome places. So I am on vacation too, but I'm also probably working. And so I would really love to say Mass on that day to give thanks for my ordination. I'm very grateful for it. Thank you, Jade. Anyone else? Yeah, ask away.
How do you keep your enthusiasm after 10 years of service?
That's a great question. So how do you keep your enthusiasm? So for me, prayer is really, really, really important. So Catholic priests have to pray between 5 and 7 times a day. So my day goes like this. So I get up at 10 to 4. Let me just ask a question. Was anyone still up at 10 to 4? Anyone not gone to bed at 10 to 4? You can be honest, no judgment. Come on, you can tell me. You were up.
Today for our theology project, we'll be interviewing Nicholas's grandparents who've been married in the Catholic Church for 56 years.
They have 2 children, my mother and my uncle, and I'm their only grandchild.
Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the interview.
Button.
Oh.
All right, are you guys ready for the first question?
Okay.
Okay. How did you meet? How did you know you should get married? And how can someone know if and when to marry someone else?
We met at a New Year's Eve party at her mother's house. It was a blind date. And I knew I should get married as soon as I seen her walking down the steps. Okay,
What was the third part?
What's the
How
third
do
part?
you know? It was how can someone know if and when to marry someone else?
What?
Again,
How can someone know if and when to marry someone else?
Other than the person you're married to?
No. How did you know to marry Pop-Pop? How can someone know that? Do you have any advice for someone else is what I'm saying.
I got to answer.
Yes.
How did I know? I don't know how I knew. I
How
just,
about you, Pop-Pop?
I just knew, Nick. I was in love at first sight.
Okay,
Nick.
moving on to the next question.
All right.
You guys got married in the Catholic Church, correct?
Yes.
You remember when they made you prepare? Did they make you do something for it?
no,
No.
They didn't make you prepare?
No.
no, not in those days.
In those days, no.
All right, all right.
We're already baptized, already confirmed. We didn't leave anything.
They didn't make you prepare?
No.
All right.
Okay, next question. So how was your wedding day? Is there anything that you regret or that you'd change if you could go back? And what's some advice that you give to someone who's planning a wedding right now?
No. None at all. No advice.
No regrets?
No advice except to enjoy it because it's a once in a lifetime.
How about you, Grandma? Get in the frame.
I don't know. You might mention that we've been married for 50, what? 51 years. 56 years, I'm sorry. How many years? 56? What the hell's that?
5 and 1, 6.
60 years? No.
56. 56 years, Nick. This is going to be a comedy show, right? You know that, right?
Yeah, definitely a comedy. All right, hold on. I lost it. Oh wait, I got it. You don't have any advice for anyone planning a wedding?
No.
Yeah, have
No
a
advice.
big celebration.
Here, I got it, Nick. So, what are the best parts of being married?
Ooh. The companionship
Companionship?
And
How about you,
trust.
Graham?
and the trust.
Anything else?
Yeah, the sex.
Okay. All right, how about this one? What things are hard? How do you get through conflict and hard times? How do you see the grace of marriage assist you with this?
You have to talk. You have to talk.
Communication.
Communication. You have to talk to each other. Always have to talk. You keep talking until you talk your way through. Communication.
What things have been hard specifically?
What has what?
What things have been hard in your marriage?
Nothing.
Hard.
Yeah, like something that you had to talk about that you had to go through together.
Nothing.
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 You don't have a problem to
I'm
work through.
supposed to put this in my thing? Nothing, nothing, nothing.
You have to have something.
All right, you
When
tell her.
Pop-Up lost his job,
Tell me about that.
he had to go into his own business, and he did well, but we didn't have a lot of money, but we managed.
And then grandmom lost her job. Her job.
Not
And it was the
really.
same. Same way. We didn't have a lot of money, but we managed. We managed, and grandmom found another job, and I got another job. So it was tough. It was tough being laid off and no money coming in. But we managed. Held it together.
All right.
Okay, moving on to the next question. So, how do you continue your spiritual growth and formation during your marriage?
Through prayer.
Yeah, we pray a lot.
Yeah, I think that prayer is a good answer.
Did you ever have a desire to be like to not be like to not be married, like to either fulfill your life as a single person or like to fulfill your life as like a priest or something, someone
No,
that doesn't get
never.
married? Always marriage in your mind?
Yeah.
How about you, Grandma?
Same.
All right.
Oh, sorry. So, how did having children affect your marriage, and what advice would you give to raising children?
Oh, my children are my greatest accomplishment. I wouldn't dream of not having children. I actually wanted 3, but I was only blessed with 2.
You have to prepare yourself because it crimps your lifestyle. Everything changes. You can't go out when you want to go out. Can't spend money where you want to spend money at. You're going to have responsibilities at home with the children. So you can't do what you want to do like you did before you had kids. A lot of people say, well, I don't want to have kids. Well, the reason why they don't want to have kids is because a lot of times they don't want to stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Well, having kids definitely crimps your lifestyle, changes your lifestyle entirely. Babysitters, sleepless nights, changing diapers, stuff. It's
Which your grandfather did none of.
that's not true, Nick.
It is, Nikki.
That's just grandma. Go ahead.
All right, how about this one? Do you have any advice to help young adults prepare now for marriage and a life with a family of their own one day?
Well, they have to be able to talk to each other. And if you have an argument, you have to agree to disagree and never wake up the next morning mad. You argue about something, you forget about it. Okay, next argument. We agree to disagree. Next argument. When you wake up in the morning, you never talk about the argument before. It's done. It's history. You wake up, it's an all new day. Next argument. Okay? That's how it worked for us. We never woke up mad at each other, ever in 56 years after an argument. Okay?
Okay. How about you, Grandma? Any advice for young people on preparing for marriage?
Yeah, I think they should maybe live together first. I don't know, to see if they're compatible before they actually marry.
Okay. Let me see if I have any more questions.
Here, I got one, Nick. What role does faith play in your marriage?
You pray for each other. That's all. You pray that God's going to help you and God's going to help your spouse and whatever the problems you may have, whether they're health problems, financial problems, or whatever. You just pray to God and hope for the best.
All right. All right, that's all the questions, so I think we're done.
You think we're done? Now, are the other students going to be laughing, having a good old time? I think they are.
I don't know.
I think it's going to be a good one, Nick.
X and Chase Wilk are gonna see you on this.
Oh, they are, huh? My buddy X.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hello.
All right.
All right. You done?
Yeah, I guess. I'll see you
Can I leave
guys.
the meeting now?
Yeah, bye.
All right, we love you. Bye.
In the video, my grandparents commented on this, but I think it's important to say in the introduction that if that stuff doesn't make the final cut or whatever, that my grandparents, since they were married 56 years ago, did not go through question 2, which is what was the process of the preparation for the sacrament of marriage for you, or did you see the preparation helping your marriage today? Because they told me that that didn't exist back then, basically. So yeah, they didn't go through the process of preparation and all that.
Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching our Holy Orders and Matrimony project. Thank you.